afternoon and welcome everyone. Hi, Lorianne. How are you?
I'm good, Vince. How are you? Welcome to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I am Lorianne Casdia, and you are?
I am Vince Perrotta.
Awesome. Our goal here at Healthy Lifestyle is to inspire, educate, and empower you to fulfill a healthy, emotional, spiritual, and physical life so you can feel empowered to live the life you have always wanted and dreamed. Welcome to the show.
Very exciting. We're all getting ready because the countdown tonight for 2023. Have any special plans for tonight?
I got my sparkles ready to put on. We're going to go have some dinner, and we're kind of old. I used to go out and do the singing every New Year's Eve and watch people do silly things on New Year's Eve and worry about driving home. And now we go have dinner, we come home, we pop champagne at midnight. We're in bed 10, 15 minutes after. How about you, Vince?
You just summarized our night. We do the same. We go out for a wonderful dinner. We come home, got the champagne ready at like 11:55. Love the countdown. It's a lot of fun because I watched the ball drop since I was a little boy.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. It's so funny. Well, I was a little girl, not a little boy, but I love doing that. But it's so funny because the whole time it's like, how much more do we have to stay up?
Yes, if you're an early riser,
Lorianne, you got to hold on. All right.
Well, because if you're an early riser, it's like stretching your day. So, but anyway, it is a lot of fun. That's exciting. So, with that in mind, as we kind of look towards the end of 2022, it's been an amazing year, but not without its challenges, as any year is. And we want to get ready for 23. And I think that the word that you and I were talking about is ignite your 2023. Right?
You want to light it up. Yeah, without a doubt.
So to, take a step back though, before we do that, always good to have a moment of reflection. So
yeah, I like to reflect on the year. I like to look back and look at our achievements. What did we do the best? So what was your biggest achievement? Something that you just were like, wow, I did not expect that, but I'm so glad that I did it, or I took the chance. Anything?
When I look back, for me personally, I had an opportunity in the business world that came my way that I didn't think would come. And I was really glad that I got it, I achieved it, and I did accept it. So for me, this was a career year. I really enjoyed it. How about yourself? What was most special for you, your big accomplishment this year?
Other than watching a couple of my clients really achieve and get to their dream, we always start from where they are, and then we look at the vision of where they want to be, and we work and play in that gap between where they are and where they want to be, and actually watch them build the bridge and get to where they want. That was a great achievement. But I think on a personal level, myself and Anthony, we bought a townhouse together down in South Carolina, and I'm just like loving it. I'm here now, in South Carolina doing this. So it makes me really happy. It really makes me happy. So that was a huge achievement for us.
And congratulations. That's really exciting. Especially a place to live is kind of a change of venue. And my grandfather used to say that if you change, your town that you live in, you change the luck that you have in your life. So, sometimes when things are a little difficult and challenging, you find a new place to live, a new start. And which leads us to what's upcoming. I guess we want to talk a little bit today about setting a vision and reviewing it, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. But before you get to that, you just said something that was really poignant is that, we set these goals out there and we need to look back and celebrate ourselves. We take our celebrations for granted and we focus on the challenges. And, when you move to a new place or do something, if you move in a career, either to a new position or another company, whatever the case may be, the important thing are the 5 people who surround us, because they really influence us. And there was a phrase that was brought to my attention a couple of years ago, which is so true. Your net worth is your network. So if you're surrounding yourself with millionaires, you're going to become a millionaire. It's just a matter of time. If you surround yourself with people who aren't really engaged and aren't excited about, and I call it having fire in your belly. You know me, I work with people with the three things. They have to have fire in their belly, desire to succeed, and show up for them. If you surround yourself with people who aren't showing up, then you're going to find yourself lulling into that same pattern. Do you find that?
I do, especially the last one, showing up for you. I've taken that phrase from you because that one resonates with me a great deal. I like coaching people. It's part of one of the things that I do for a living. And in the capacity that I do it in, I find that my energies are so much more well received and amplified in individuals who show up, and they show up for themselves, right? Because the energy is there, the desire is there, the willingness. Whereas I'm trying to pull those other folks along who don't show up for themselves. It's like, yeah, I'm here, but I really kind of don't have the heart, or they're just not committed to what their goals are. And I've lost my motivation many times for those folks, because why should I show up for you if you don't show up for you?
Yes. And don't you find you get more creative when the other person is like, it's like, okay, we're all in the game. Let's do this. And I also find that trying to pull it out, if I have more or you have more investment in their progress and in whatever it is that they're doing, we shouldn't have more investment than they do in their own progress.
That's right.
You know,
and I think that, I'm sorry.
It just doesn't work.
Right. It doesn't. You have to show up for you. So those three things are important, but like I said, that's the one for me. Now, we were going to talk about vision and goal setting, and I want to get to that. But as important as that is, a lot of times it's really hard to get started. It's hard to know where to begin, even if you've done this before, if you're a seasoned professional. But I think there's an opportunity that folks have coming up on the first Friday of the new year.
Yep.
I believe you're doing a program specifically on vision and goal setting, right? I think it's January 6th of next year. Tell us a little about that before we get started. It's
at 6 p.m. on the first Friday of January, and it's called New Year's Visioning and Goal Setting for Success in 2023. Why I always say for success is if we don't have that foundational in place, and then it's kind of like going into the grocery store without a shopping list. You kind of rattle around, you get things that you really don't want. You forget the stuff that you were supposed to bring home or you needed for that dinner that night. And you spend a lot more time doing stuff that maybe if you had specific list, you would have just gone in there. Now, I know when I go into a store and I have a list, I'm like, bam, bam, bam. I'm in there. I get the stuff. I'm out really fast. But if I'm wandering and meandering, I feel like I'm in that wheel, that hamster wheel. I'm like, I don't know how to get out. I don't know how to get out. Here's the door. So what the visioning and goal setting is for is, and I kind of liken it, again, I do a lot of metaphors. I liken it to a pizza. We don't order a pizza and eat the whole thing in one bite, right? That would be kind of gross and hard to do. I'm sure there's somebody out here that could do that. All right. Well, maybe you do. But we take the pie and we slice it into, workable pieces. And then we nibble on that until we finish that slice. And then we go to the next slice. That's the same thing with goals. And with this visioning and goal setting workshop that we put together, this workshop masterclass allows you to actually start creating your goals. We write them down right then and there. We start creating them. There are steps for goals. You don't just make a New Year's resolutions. The reason why New Year's resolutions don't work, 95% of them are failed. Right. Within the first 6 weeks, right? And the reason is because they're too big. But it isn't that they're really too big, is we haven't set a goal of actions as well. So we set a goal and then we set a goal with actions to get to our goal. So that's what we're going to go through on the first Friday of January. We're going to go through that. You're going to set your goals for the year. What do you want? And we have special rules to this. There are no rules. No. No, maybe it was there are no roads was the quote from the from the movie Back to the Future. But here it is that there's no time constraints. There's no money constraints. That gets figured out by our head later. There are no other people constraints. This is all about you. So put yourself in a bubble. And then what is your desire? And we want to think from the heart, not from the head. The head solves the problems. And I liken this to a laptop. When you shut the laptop, it doesn't keep running. I mean, it runs, but it doesn't do anything for you. When you open it up, you have to ask it to do something. When we think about our dreams and our visions, we think about it from our heart. What do we really want? We want that villa in Tuscany. Oh, wait, that's me. We're going to have that villa in Tuscany in 2023. So we visualize what that is, and then we start figuring out, our head will start figuring out the how. So we take all that figuring it out, because a lot of people think logically, well, I don't have money for that, so that's not really a realistic goal. So I'm sure you talk about realistic goals versus not in your coaching, right, Vince?
I do. And it's important that a realistic goal doesn't mean you don't stretch. A realistic goal means that you do stretch, but you push yourself towards what you thought might have been a limit and past that, because overachievement doesn't come from going, well, if you know you can do this, well, then it's not really a stretch goal.
Not really a goal, is it?
Right? A stretch goal is I can run 2 miles, but by the end of the year, I want to run 5. Right?
Yeah. And my advice all the time, and again, we'll talk about this on Friday, next Friday. I always say to people, it needs to be uncomfortable. The goal needs to be like, yikes, I don't know if I'm going to be able to reach that. Perfect. If you have a goal and you're like, yeah, I'll tell you a story. I had this client, he's awesome. He was setting his goal for one of the years, and he set this number, and I'm like, have you ever heard the term sandbagging, Vince?
Yes.
Yeah. So what sandbagging is, for those of you who don't know it, it's when you write down, what a goal is, but you already know you could achieve it. It's really, really simple. It's like, you really already have it in your pocket. It's not a big deal. It's like, okay, makes you look like a superstar, you think.
Well, it's like setting the goal we were saying before. I'm going to run 3 miles this year. I already run 2.5 miles. I'm pretty sure I can stretch myself to run an extra half a mile. That's not really stretching me.
Yeah, exactly. So what, oh my God, I lost my train of thought.
So we were talking, when you set a goal and you want to stretch yourself, right? You want to overachieve, and you don't want to sandbag. And you were explaining how sandbagging really.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. So he came up with this number, and I was like, wait a minute. If I do the math on what you just told me, you hit that number in February. And he's like, no, I don't think so. Blah, blah. I was like, no, we're going to change. I tripled the number on him. And I said, this is more like it. And he got really, you could see, physically nervous about it. He goes, I don't know, Lori. And I went, perfect. You're right where you're supposed to be, because it needs to be a little nauseating. It needs to be a little scary. And don't try to figure it out. The cerebral people like ourselves will try to figure it out before we do it, which means if you can figure out how to attain it, the goal's too shallow. You need to really emphasize it and make it up. So truth be told is that he did hit that number, his initial number, in February. By the end of February, he laughed when he did that. And then he ended up taking it 5 times more by the end of the year. So he really, really stretched himself, and it was really good. So you really want to make those goals out there a little nerve-wracking. It's like, oof, I don't know how I'm going to do that. It's okay. Our brain solved the problem. So don't sabotage yourself when you're writing down the goals. And again, we'll walk through the process. This isn't a process where we talk about it. This is a process next Friday where we're actually writing your goals for 2023. We walk through.
I want to interrupt you for 1 second, because I think that's so critical. The hardest part of doing it is the first iteration. To be able to just write down and finally say, this is my goal, this is my vision. Because once you have the first draft, it's easier to go back and refine. It's that initial inertia. This class will help get people over that initial inertia, get something down. And then if you take the class and you listen to Lorianna, she's giving you guidance, you get the opportunity to say to yourself, in the palace of truth, if I really wanted to be honest, is this really a stretch? What's the real goal that I should be looking at? What's going to make me, as you said, uncomfortable?
Yeah. And honestly, to you and I, whatever somebody else's goal is it's not relevant. It's like, we will help you get there. It's you have to be honest with yourself. I love that you said that, the palace of truth. And we cover 7 areas of your life. It's not just career, it's not just personal, it's physical, it's everything. We cover the 7 areas. And why do we do that? We do it because we don't live in a bubble. You don't just work, you don't just run, or do your physical work. We have to coordinate it. And I don't believe in life work balance. I believe it's a tapestry, that everything is interwoven, and we have to look at it. We'll also point out during the masterclass is you're going to see this thread that goes through all 7 areas, and you're going to see some repetitive things coming in. And when you see those patterns, that's perfect. So we're going to look for those patterns. And that's one of the things about going through the 7 areas and creating that and jumping off and leaping and writing it down. Again, I think we talked about this too, is that USA Today had a report. It's 1,100%. That's 1100% more inclined to reach your goals if you write them down. And then your brain starts working on solving the problem. So as you're writing down the goals from your heart, your brain starts figuring out the how. And it's just really amazing how that process works, but you got to trust it.
And this class will compel you to just get over that initial hurdle, to drive over that inertia, to get that first draft out. And I love that you talked about how it's interwoven your personal and your business life, because just as an aside, me personally, for a very long time, my personal health and activity and just exercise in general, I didn't tie to the success of my business career. And I found that if I didn't have those, they actually went together. I like getting my workout in first thing in the morning. It energizes me. And it's also a good time for me to think. It's clarity. I don't have a ringing phone. I don't have anybody who's waiting for me. It's, I'm just focused on my exercise, and your head is clear. And it's very funny how that really helps me through the day, because it gives you that even edge, not an edge, but an even edge, so that you can function. So I really like the way you said about how those 7 things are interwoven. It's not this is here and this, they go together. Your life comes together. You have one life, and it includes everything.
Well, it goes to, don't mean to be cliche, but it goes to oxygen mask on first. You put it on first. You're not taking care of yourself. How are you going to take care of other people? And we're all in, no matter what industry you're in, we're all in servitude to other people. We're serving other people. So we need to make sure we're fit. We need to make sure we're drinking water, we're eating properly. And that goes to, and we'll talk about this as well, our daily habits. We call them habits, ritual. I call it my power hour. I know I jokingly call you 24/7 because I know you down working out all the time in the morning. And I know if I call you, you're working out. And I love that. I think that's great. That's your habit. And whatever whatever your power hour is. And let me just explain the power hour. It allows us, what I do every morning is, and it's up to you what that is. And I am not suggesting you start a power hour starting, January 1st. By the way, we start now. We start today. When we think about it, we start now. Stop with I'll do it on Monday. I'll do it next month. I'll do it when the new year starts. That's not helpful. So the power hour for me, and again, you should ratchet it up, similar to running a marathon. You don't run 15 miles right from day one. You run maybe 3 steps, throw up, and then you start again. Oh, wait, no, that might be me. I'm not sure. But it's the same thing. So for me, my power hours, I do meditation, and then I read for 20 minutes, something mindful to really fill my head and get me thinking. I spend some time as well in that power hour doing some sort of exercise or movement, be it yoga or my bike or whatever the case may be. And then I also do my gratitude journals, because I think it's really important, because it puts me in the right headset. Like you said, when you're working out, it puts you in the right mind. You come out and you're like, okay, let's do this. The same thing with my gratitude journal. I'm just so grateful. It could be for this pen, it's the little things in life that makes a difference. Spending time with, besties and people who matter to us. those little things. So those are the things I write in my gratitude journal. And you could journal, you could do whatever it is that resonates for you, but you really need to have that habit to start your day. And I always say, start your day that way. And then we'll talk about things, tools like the rule of 5 and things like that on the first Friday of January.
See, and I think that what you're bringing out too is what you'll get out of the class is to create these habits or rituals that you have, which reinforce every day the positivity and the goal that you have set for yourself. Because if you don't have some kind of, and I'm using the word ritual, but a pattern, whatever it is, habit that you choose, right? So your day should have some level of consistency to it, because your body will react, your mind will react, because at a certain time it knows, just like food, right? I mean, I'm hungry. I don't need to watch. If it's 12:30, I can assure you my stomach goes off and I know it's time to eat. That's also for activity. I know in the morning I need that activity to get myself energized and go. And I have some time that, my mind is focused. And like you were saying, I'm really productive, and that time that I know I'm really productive, that's when I want to do like the most important activities that I have. But unless you take some time, like in this class, to sit down, to create those types of visions of like, here's my vision of what I want to be, here are the goals, and then these are the things that I'm going to do to get there. It doesn't start. It doesn't happen because it never starts. You don't have anything to reflect.
Agreed. And I'd like to talk more about this in the second half. You're listening to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne and Vince Perrotta. And we are going to come back, talk more about habits, building proper habits, and other exciting things. You can sign up for this class first Friday of January at ldcstrategies.com, Larry David Charlie strategies.com. Just go to the Success Coaching tab and you can sign up right there. It takes you to a link so that you can join in and start these great habits. We're going to take a quick pause. We'll be right back. I'm Lorianne, and you are?
Vince Perrotta.
That's right. And if you'd like to have a question answered, or lift up your business, product, or non-for-profit, or if you have a question or comment, we'd love to hear from you. Please email us at healthylifestylewithLA@gmail.com. That's healthylifestylewithLA@gmail.com. And whether or not your goal is improving your health or increasing prosperity in business, developing a business and marketing strategy, or nurturing your spiritual growth, you're in the right place. We help you harness that energy and take you to that next level. We kind of work in that space between where you are and where you want to be. So give us a call at 516-983-3591, or go to our website, ldcstrategies.com, and you can actually sign up for this New Year's visioning and goal setting for success in 2023. Vince, we were talking about habits, and I love having you on. I think this is great. We love the banter back and forth anyway. But habits, I mean, I call mine my power hour. Do you have a name for yours? And I know you're very meticulous. Why do you make sure you do that?
I do have habits. It's time blocking for me. And I do it because it assures that you get the things done that you are trying to achieve. And I want to just explain that for 1 second. So a lot of times you write down a goal, but what are the steps that make that goal? And then you'll write the steps out, and then you'll close your plan, you put it away, and game over. No, now I take those steps, and I got this wonderful tip, and take those steps and I calendarize them. I build my calendar on that. So I have time blocks in my calendar. This time is for, open discussion and appointments. And this time is just for me to do my work that, I was with clients, and now I need time to work quietly. This time is for returning calls. And it assures me that I have the quiet time I need. I have the interaction time that I need. And I'm always working towards, helping and achieving the goals that I'm trying to work at. And I also have, and you talk about this all the time to kind of work in my business and work on my business. But if you don't aggregate and separate those things, you really, all of a sudden those goals and those tactics that you wrote, they never come to fruition because they don't end up on your calendar. And that's the most important.
And the thing is keeping it in your mind. You have to look at it every day. I
Right.
love that you do time blocking. And I do have a question about time blocking. But before I get to that question, by looking at reminding our mind what we're doing, it keeps you on your goal. It keeps you on track. So I recommend doing sticky notes on your mirror in the morning. Write on your mirror. They have these pens that you could actually write on your mirror. Write your goals. You want to see them every day. Make a vision board. I have a vision board masterclass. We do a digital vision board. I know I never had magazines all over my house, or if I did, I didn't want to cut them up because, and I don't cut up books because I love my books. So we do a digital version, or if you have magazines or things that you can cut up, we can do that, or put them on your dashboard, put it on your desk just to remind you what your goals are. I also have index cards, old school index cards, or you can put them on the background of your computer to remind you what those goals are. And you're like, oh yeah. So then when you time block it, you're taking those little nibbles at your slice of pizza. You're taking those little steps you need to take in order to achieve your goal. And that's the difference between just setting a goal and putting it away, looking at every day and taking steps to achieve it. So here's my question for you. And I get this question a lot. When you're time blocking, what if something comes? Let's just say Tuesday morning, I have a networking group that interferes with my normal time when I do my hour of power, and I'm not getting up an hour earlier because I'm already up at the crack of dawn. What do you do then? Do you readjust your whole schedule? How do you do it? Or do you just forgo it? You don't do it that day?
I don't forgo it. I'm of the opinion that, okay, so if that's going to be a regular thing for me, then I will readjust my schedule because I want to account for that goal and the time that I need to achieve it. So it just needs to go in a different place, right, in my calendar. So I can do both things. Now, I will be honest, there are times that there are clear conflicts and you have to make a decision, right? But then again, your goals also help guide you, because if you go back to that and you look and say, what's my priority? And then how does this go to, if it's number 7 in priorities that I'm achieving with this, conflict, then that conflict isn't a conflict. I have to go with my top goals, right? But if it's a top goal and this is really going to help me, this network event or whatever particularly that I'm doing, then I have to find a way to make that work and fit that in my calendar and then adjust the other things appropriately. So
Yes.
you have to use some judgment.
Yeah. And it's really important because every step you're taking is to your benefit. Everything that you're doing is going to benefit your achievement of these goals. The other thing that I see happen often is we set the goals, we throw them out there, and then we allow these, I call them non-negotiables. These are steps we're going to take that are non-negotiable, but they're also, I see a lot of people doing things that they think will help them towards their goals. And when they look at it, it doesn't really achieve it. So I ask myself, or have my clients ask themselves the question of, does this, whatever it is, insert what the activity is, bring me closer to my goals? Do you do that as well?
I do. And it helps you to filter out the things, there was years ago, they used to talk about, nice to do and got to do. And I'm a big fan of that. Some things are nice to do and they even make you feel good if you do them. But the question is, do they help you towards your goal? Or are they just nice things to do? And the gotta do's are sometimes the harder things that you don't always want to do, but those are the necessary things to get where you want to be.
Agreed. And I think it's real important to have that balance, and I, like I said, in my calendar blocking, I will have people put in, or I do it for myself, non-negotiable. So what that means is, if I have it blocked out that I'm doing my power hour, if I have it blocked out that I'm taking an action step towards my goal, I don't replace it for a client. And a lot of people make that error. They're like, oh, but it's a potential client or it's a client. I have to put them in there. Well, when I call in for my doctor's appointment, they don't say, when would you like to come in? They go, I got Tuesday at 2. Does that work for you? And what happens is, it doesn't leave a lot of decision making, because if we have too many decisions to make, it's like going to the Cheesecake Factory. I'm out, man. I tap out on that menu. It has too much. I just open it to a page and select something on that page because it's just too big, too many choices. So when you do that, when you give them a date and a time, and if that doesn't work, what people invariably say back is, well, Tuesday does not work, but I could do it Thursday at 3, does that work for you? Now we're going back and forth and looking at our schedule, and it's not so overwhelming.
Right.
Right.
And I think there's another piece to that too, if I could, when you build that into your plan, right? So you have a client that you build. I think the other thing that you want to look at whenever you're putting anything on your calendar is, when do I build time to work on the outcome of that? Right. And I was suggesting before, like sometimes I have periods of time in my calendar that are quiet time, because if I generate work and I generate business and I've worked with a new client that has things that I need to do, I need to plan time so that I have the ability to do the work that I committed to. So that's why, your goals are achievable, but they also are reliant on your day-to-day activities more and more, you'll see. And that once you get that routine down, and you just keep feeding yourself and you keep going back to your goals, you're like, all right, this is important. I need to do this. It's in my calendar.
Yeah. Yeah. And you will don't you find you achieve your goals faster when you do it this way?
You do, because you're focused on what you're doing, and you're mindful of the goal, but you're focused on what you need to accomplish to get there. And that's the real important part. Do the work.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I do this visioning and goal setting every year at the beginning of the year. And then usually people morph into the masterclass where they get their foundational success principles, 5 foundational success principles that allow you really to know what you need to do in order to build that foundational habit. So if you don't have habits, you don't know where to start, I got a solution for that as well, that you can come join, but you really do need the goal setting first. And even before, if you can't come the first Friday of January, again, ldcstrategies.com. If you want to sign on to that, go to Success Coaching tab, and it's right there. You can sign on. But if you don't have the ability to do that, before you go to a masterclass to get your foundational, we start with looking at your goals. It's a funny thing. When we were doing goal settings recently in a group, I always ask somebody in a group if they would share their goals. And this one girl got up and got up and said that she wanted to own an airplane, her own Cessna. And I'm like, I want to own my own airplane. And I wrote it down on my goals, right? So, because I usually do it at the same time everybody else does it. And I wrote it down on my goals. And then I sat and I was ready to set that strategy that we talked about and put it in blocks, and to really, what are the steps I have to take in order to get me to where I want to be? And I was looking at that plane and I'm like, I really do want a plane. And then I went, but I don't want to pay for the housing of it. I don't want to pay for the maintenance. I don't want to pay for the staffing or the pilot. And dear God, I hardly want to pay for the gas for my car. Why would I want to gas up an airplane, right? So I don't want to own a plane. I want to know somebody who owns a plane. And sure enough, I do. I know somebody who owns a plane now, because I put it down on my goals that way and on my vision board. And a friend of mine she's a pilot and she owns her own plane. And anytime I need access to a private jet, boof, I'm there. So how cool is that though? So if you can vision it, you can achieve it. Just remember that. That's the whole thing. It's not about setting these crazy goals like I want to own a jet plane. Like, did I really need to have that jet plane? Not really. Is it convenient for me to have access to one when I have some of my speaking engagements and things like that? Yeah, that is. But to own it and have all those expenses doesn't make sense. And plus my financial advisor would be like, yeah, that's not happening. So, and I think he's great because he really does keep me on track. And that's why, I have all these people. I have 5 coaches myself. And I think, real important thing, I really encourage everybody to get a coach and make sure that coach has a coach, because if you're not coachable as a coach, then you really aren't coming in with the right intentions. And I know I have all these advisors around me. And the reason is they hold me accountable. Accountability, once you set your goals, accountability is that extra piece that a lot of people miss. If I set a goal and I don't share it with anybody, nobody knows I didn't attain it. So no big deal. And I just keep going.
And full disclosure, I just took this class with Lorianne, and I can tell you that after we spent the time on vision and goals, and we really, specifically identify what was important, that was the key part, is the accountability component, because you want to live what it is that you're trying to achieve. Otherwise, what's the value? And having someone that you can talk to. And I think accountability sometimes gets a negative connotation because people are like, oh, I got to say that I didn't do it. I want to tell that person, I didn't get this done, and I want to talk about why I didn't get it done. Yeah, that's right. Own it.
Own it.
And sometimes it's like, look, I'm struggling with this. Help me. Here's what I did. I think that's the difference is some people go, oh, I didn't get this done. They don't want to tell anybody and I just don't want anybody to give me any heat. The other alternative is, look, I was either A, I didn't do this, and that's all right. We get that. So let's talk about why and get it back on if it's important, or let's get rid of it. But B,
or maybe it's a tool you need. Maybe you don't have the right tool. Maybe schedule blocking doesn't work for you. We have all kinds of tools that we can give you.
But that's what the class gave me. It was that insights to say, it's not just the goal and the vision, but I need the accountability portion because this needs to be an active part of what I do.
Yeah. Well, just think about it. If you have a partner that you're meeting at the gym, let's just say that, and you get up in the morning and you're like, I don't want to get up. My head hurts. Every excuse that you run through my pinky my pinky hurts. I can't, any excuse that you're going to run through your head to not go. But that you're meeting up with so-and-so at the gym. I don't want to let them down. You'll drag your body out, be really cranky driving there, and then be happy that you did. And that's me through and through. I'm like, I don't want to go. And I'm like talking to myself all the way there. And then when I get there, I'm happy that I did it because afterwards I feel energized. I also feel like I didn't let my partner down. I met them and I held up to my responsibility. And that's another thing that I teach 100% responsibility to yourself. Accountability isn't about other people. It's about being true to yourself and just having somebody there going, okay, what do we need to do to make sure that you get it done, right?
Well, and think about that because it's very funny. I had a real similar experience. There was a guy that I used to work out with all the time. And the one thing he told me, he said is, you don't even take, and I wouldn't, if he called me on my cell as I was driving to the gym, I wouldn't take his call because I knew what the call was. It's like, oh, listen, I'm not thinking, sorry, not talking to you. We said we'd be here at this time. I'm going to be there and I'm not talking to you until you're in front of me. And he said, for him, it was really good because that was not his thing. But I found him helpful to me because I didn't mind going. But, once the workout was over and I had to do a little cardio, I hate cardio, but he was hell bent on it. So we helped each other. And that's why that accountability partner is so important because you'll give to each other. I like that you said that. Don't have a coach that doesn't have a coach because you want to be coachable in order to coach. Yeah.
I mean, my coaches, I got to tell you, they're fierce. They beat the bejeebus out of me and I love it. They hold me accountable and they're like, okay, I'm a non-excuse girl. I'm like, don't throw excuses at me because I'll call you out on it. That's an excuse. Okay. And I have clients who go, I know it's an excuse. And I was just like, okay, you're allowed to make the excuses but just recognize that's what you're doing. That's all I'm asking. Recognize that you're making an excuse and you're allowed to make an excuse. I'm allowed to be cranky too. I'm allowed to have a pity poor me party if I want. I get bored easily, so that doesn't last very long. But I'm allowed to have all those too. So are you. But we have to just acknowledge that's what we're doing. And that's where you're actually in control of what you're doing and the decisions you're making.
And think about the piece that says, if you don't achieve your goal, it doesn't impact your coach at all.
No.
It impacts you.
Yep.
So
my day goes on the same.
Right. Everything is exactly the same. So you're only doing it for you. Once you connect the dot to say, wait a minute, that person's helping me and it doesn't impact them at all. If anything, I'm letting them down because they've committed time to me. They've committed their intellect and I'm showing up, but I'm not showing up for me. I'm just literally just walking in the room, right? And show up for me. That's one of the big three things that Lorianne talks about all the time. Right, and this class really links that. Put the accountability with the vision and the goals. This January 6th class gives you that opportunity to get over that initial inertia, start the planning process, ignite your 2023. We reflect on what we want to do in the new year, but then ignite your 2023.
Yeah. And we ignite it by taking action. We take actions by setting our goals and then setting goals that are producible. So we take steps or tasks, whatever you want to say. I call it a strategy and tasks, and we set those in place so that we could achieve those goals. Again, it's nice to talk about painting the house, but you actually have to go out and get the paint and have the ladder and go paint the house. So, and then we feel great. And when we achieve those goals, how do you feel when you achieve something that you were like, oh my God, that was really a big reach, but you actually get it?
I know I feel personally really great, but I do want to add one thing. The climb is more fun than the achievement for me.
So true.
It's like once I'm involved and I'm into what I'm doing, the struggle is part of it. I want to work through it. I want to beat it. I want to achieve. And so when I get to the end, I do reflect, but I always note that, wow, that was actually more fun trying to get, because you can feel yourself, whether you're crawling, running, walking, you're getting
doing it. I'm doing it.
Getting there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's all about doing it. It doesn't matter what the goal is. It could be little or big. It doesn't. Sometimes people say, oh, the goals have to be so big. No, it could be a goal to just, get out of bed on time and not hit the snooze bar. That's a really good goal to start good habits. And again, we talk about this, and the great thing about the system that I have in place, and it's a process that works, it's proven process, is if you do the goal setting, when you do the goal setting, and then you come into this community, you have a community of like-minded people who are also doing the same thing and will all hold you accountable in little ways, right? And you also have other people to bounce your ideas off of, and it escalates. In the masterclass, you're surrounded by other like-minded people who are learning the same process, and you actually start getting a network of these people who are in the same mind. And I call it vibrating at the same level, who are really wanting to do something different this year. And again, if you don't take these steps, I ask you to just ask yourself, if you don't take the time to do the goals and to take these steps and maybe take a class like this or a master class with me, whatever the case may be, will anything change for next year? Or are we going to be in the same place? And that's the thing that's really important. Is anything going to change if you don't? And why would you not want to?
And I want to add, and I don't know what you think of this, but I have to share it. My aunt, when I was a young boy, used to tell me, shoot for the stars. And if you land on the moon, you did a great job, but shoot for the stars. And I always think that sometimes at the end, when you reflect, and as we reflect here on the eve of, this year, as you reflect, maybe you didn't achieve your goal that you wanted for 22 or goals, but maybe you came so far and you made such progress. Reflect on the fact that you came further. You're further along because you tried and you worked hard. Maybe you're going to set that same goal in the new year. But don't discount the fact that you achieved quite a bit just moving forward and moving closer to the end point.
Yeah. And that's why we always start with celebrating what we did last week. We always start with celebrating the littlest things. It's not celebrating all the big things. Big things automatically get celebrated. It's the little things, even getting out of bed in the morning. Sometimes that's a rough thing for some people. I get it. Been there, done that, struggled and got out of bed, so it's the little things. So we have to celebrate. I totally agree with you. We have to make these vivacious, audacious, huge goals, and we'll talk about why. And then we have to share them with other people, with somebody you trust, who's your cheerleader. And again, join us on January, on the first Friday in January, January 6th at 6 p.m. You can sign up online, ldcstrategies.com. Please go to success coaching tab, and then you can see where you can sign up there, or you can email us at healthylifestylewithLA@gmail.com. We'll be able to do that. Vince, I love this. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Peace and prosperity to all.
To you as well. To you as well. Thank you all for joining us today on Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I hope we earned the privilege of your time. I want to thank Vince again for being my partner here. And he's going to be coming on a lot more. So look for our coaching sessions. I think it's very valuable. We get a lot of feedback that is requesting that. And also, if you're looking for a business coach, accountability strategy, directing, a sounding board, or someone to help you streamline your business, reach out to us. Reach out to 516-983-3591 and see if it's a good fit. We can absolutely help you soar to success. Thank you again for joining us on Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. Look for our show next Saturday at 3 p.m. Until then, I'm Lorianne Casdia.
I'm Vince Perrotta.
Play a higher role, serve a higher purpose, show up for you, and show up, what, Vince?
For yourself.
For yourself, and show up big. That's right. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy
Bye.
New Year, everybody.